They told everyone I gave up. They said I quit something big to chase something small. No one asked me anymore. They just told my story as if it were settled fact. But the truth wasn't loud. It was waiting patient for the right moment to speak. If you believe in quiet strength in journeys that grow slowly but leave a deep mark, subscribe to this channel. Because sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones no one expected. My name is Olivia Carter. I'm 31 and live in a modest apartment above a cozy bookstore in Portland, Oregon. I make my own coffee, pay my bills, and apparently remain the family disappointment. I was supposed to be the doctor, the overachiever, the golden child until I wasn't. I dropped out of medical school in my second year. It wasn't due to scandal or drama. It was pure burnout, the kind that hollows you out from within but no one notices because you still smile at family dinners. After I left, my father shut me out for months. My mother sobbed quietly, telling everyone I was just taking a break. Meanwhile, my younger brother Ryan moved forward quietly, becoming the family's pride, a finance graduate with a corner office and a fiancé from a respected family. Meanwhile, I started teaching basic technology to seniors in my neighborhood for cash, for sanity, for purpose. At first it felt like failure, but gradually it felt like meaning. What started as simple one-on-one lessons in coffee shops soon blossomed into group classes at the local library, then webinars, and eventually a prototype for an online platform I called Elderbrite. Our mission was simple but vital: help people over 60 stay connected in a world rapidly moving online, a world that often tries to leave them behind. We taught everything from sending emails and making video calls to online banking, digital security, and even spotting fake news before it spread like wildfire across social media. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't a Silicon Valley unicorn startup, but it was working. One memorable week, I video called an 83-year-old woman named Mrs. Jenkins. She had endured 2 hip replacements and enough sass to power a sitcom. It took us nearly 40 minutes to get her microphone working. And when it finally did, she looked at her son's face, a man living 3 states away, and gasped. Hand over her mouth, she whispered, "You brought my baby into my living room." Moments like that don't make headlines, but they change lives. That's what Elderbrite was about. Within 3 years, we had over 80,000 active users, state-level partnerships, and nonprofits eager to bring our program to their communities. We were transforming lives one tutorial at a time. Despite the growing impact of Elderbrite, my family never asked how it was going. They never expressed pride or interest. To them, I had stepped off the golden path and wandered into the woods. It didn't matter that I had built a new path, a path others could follow, lit with every lesson and every breakthrough. At family dinners, their eyes skimmed over me as if I were a shadow, invisible and insignificant. One Sunday, while my mother served roast beef, she casually told Ryan's fiancée, Ryan's always been the focused one, Olivia. "Well, she's more of a free spirit." I smiled, politely cut my carrots, and said nothing. Because disappointments stay quiet, we stay polite, we stay invisible. But change was coming quietly, patiently. And it all began with a name I hadn't heard spoken in years. The irony was always sharp. I could build a platform that connected thousands of strangers, making them feel seen and valued, yet I couldn't get my own family to ask me a single real question. At Elderbrite, we were in the middle of a major update, redesigning the onboarding process to make it easier for older adults who had never touched a keyboard. I had just finished a user test with a 76-year-old man who cried when he successfully FaceTimed his granddaughter for the first time. He kept repeating, she thought I was gone. Now she knows I'm still here. That moment lit me up more than any funding announcement ever could. But when I mentioned it at a family dinner, my father just grunted, teaching old folks to click buttons. Real noble work. Ryan chuckled under his breath. I let it slide. They didn't know that behind those simple lessons was a full educational platform built with adaptive design accessibility features and custom technology to meet users' needs. They didn't know our monthly newsletter had a 78% open rate, that we were piloting programs in state community centers, or that my little project was changing more lives in a week than many corporate meetings did in a year. Because I never told them. When someone hands you a label like failure, you either fight to tear it off or wear it quietly while building something too big to ignore. 2 weeks before Ryan's engagement party, a notification popped up in my inbox. The subject line read, Amanda C. Testimonial Submission. Amanda was Ryan's fiancée, though she didn't know I was the Olivia behind Elderbrite. I clicked on the video. Amanda sat in a softly lit living room holding the hand of her grandmother, Margaret, who wore a warm smile. This is my grandma, Amanda said. She lost Grandpa last spring and it was a lonely time for her. But thanks to Elderbrite, she stayed connected with us through weekly video calls. She even learned to use online grocery delivery apps. It gave her confidence and it gave us peace. I watched the video again and again. Amanda didn't know who I was. She only knew that Elderbrite helped her family. Her grandmother looked straight into the camera and whispered, "Thank you, Olivia. You helped me feel human again." That night, my mother called me. "Don't forget the engagement dinner is Saturday. We want everything to be perfect." I wasn't sure if I should go. "Why wouldn't you?" she asked quickly. "Because I'm not sure I belong," I replied. A pause. "Then just don't talk about your website too much." Amanda's family was all Ivy League and polished. I almost laughed. The week of the engagement party arrived and I left the RSVP card untouched. I knew they expected me to show up, smile politely, and fade into the background like a forgotten photo on the wall. I told myself I would go for Amanda, for the grandmother who said I helped her feel human again, not for my family. At a cousin's barbecue the week before, someone asked, "Still doing your little internet thing?" I smiled, nodded, and bit my tongue. My mother was right there, but didn't correct them or mention my staff users or grants. Instead, she offered more potato salad. I stood holding a paper plate, pretending I wasn't shrinking. Never again for them. At work, Elderbrite was about to pilot in 12 rural libraries across the state, places where seniors had more goats than internet access. It was meaningful work. Meanwhile, at home, my mother was obsessing over napkin colors and dress styles with notes like, "No black, no pantsuits," something feminine this time. Her need to control was clear, especially over women who refused to be controlled. The day before the party, I met our newest intern, Jamie, a brilliant 19-year-old coder fascinated by accessibility and user experience for older adults. While chatting, a woman at the next table leaned over. "Are you Olivia Carter from Elderbrite?" I blinked, yes. "Oh my gosh," she smiled. "My dad's been using your platform for months. He sends me memes now." Jamie looked at me like I had just grown a cape. I confessed I didn't tell you people recognize me. Usually they don't. But the truth was spreading. Emails, testimonials, podcast invites a quiet buzz beyond my family's narrow view. I wasn't invisible anymore. I was rising. That night I lay awake replaying Amanda's video, the sincerity, the connection. She didn't know me personally, but trusted what I built, born from failure, pain, and reinvention. That trust was pure, it was real. The restaurant was a shimmering blend of glass and gold, the lighting deliberately dim, the ambiance intimate. The bread came with truffle butter, a subtle reminder of the evening's significance. I arrived 10 minutes early, as I always do. My mother's surprised glance when she saw me was quickly masked with a polite, tight smile. "Oh, you came," she said with a hint of hesitation. "You asked me to," I replied simply. "I'm glad I did." She wasn't. I took my seat at the far end of the long table, just out of focus, exactly how they preferred me. Ryan and Amanda arrived 15 minutes later, radiant and full of excitement. Amanda hugged everyone warmly, including me though, without recognizing me fully. Speeches filled the room. Ryan's boss spoke about ambition and legacy. Amanda's father praised loyalty and family bonds. I nodded quietly, a ghost among them. Then near dessert, Amanda leaned toward me, eyes narrowing in genuine curiosity. "I've been meaning to ask Olivia," she said softly. "What exactly do you do?" The room hushed. "I run a digital literacy platform for older adults," I answered. "Not just classes, we build adaptive systems with accessibility features like screen readers, large print navigation, and voice commands." Her eyes widened. "Elderbrite! No way! You're the Olivia Carter, the founder." I nodded. Her hand flew to her mouth. She glanced at Ryan, then back at me. "You helped my grandmother video call every week. You gave us more time with her. I submitted a video to your campaign." Aunt Linda gasped. Uncle Joe cleared his throat. My mother's mouth opened, then closed again. Amanda continued, "I can't believe I'm meeting you. You've built something national. You're changing lives." Ryan leaned in. "I didn't know. You never said." Silence filled the space, but this time it wasn't cold. It was awe. For the first time in years, I wasn't a footnote, I was the headline. The rest of the evening unfolded under a strange new light. Whispers began circulating not behind my back, but toward me. Toast started, including mentions of Elderbrite's impact. My mother sat stiff and silent, as if recalibrating the narrative she'd long controlled. For the first time in a very long while, I didn't feel invisible. I felt seen, not because I demanded recognition, not because I interrupted, but because the truth walked into the room on its own and refused to stay quiet. The next morning, I woke with a quiet feeling deep in my chest. It wasn't pride or revenge. It was something softer, like a door closing gently without a slam. Then a message from Ryan appeared on my phone. "I'm sorry I never asked." Simple, no excuses, no emojis. I stared at the screen a long moment, then turned my phone face down. Later that afternoon, my mother called twice. I didn't answer, not out of spite. I just wasn't ready to hear what she might say, nor let her diminish the moment again. That night, I walked down to the waterfront pier. The air was crisp, laced with salt and pine. The world felt suspended, like something had quietly cracked open, and the light was deciding how far to reach. I thought about Amanda's face as she made the connection, not just recognition, but reverence. Not for fame, but for meaning. I thought about all the years I'd spent shrinking because I believed their silence meant I wasn't enough. But now I knew better. 2 days later, a letter arrived, a real handwritten letter from my mother. "Dear Olivia, I watched the video Amanda sent me. I cried. Not because I didn't know what you had built, but because I realized I never bothered to ask. I was so focused on what you walked away from that I never looked at where you were going. You did what no one else in this family ever had the courage to do. You failed and you kept going. And in doing that, you taught people how to find their voice again, including me. Love, Mom." I read that letter 3 times before slowly folding it and placing it beside my desk, not framed, not displayed, just kept. Because this time I didn't need to prove anything on a wall. I was living it every day. That weekend, I gave a keynote at a local community tech conference. There were no cameras, no national press, just 60 hopeful people gathered in a rec center auditorium. I told them the truth. I was never supposed to be here. I was supposed to be someone else. But life had other plans, and I stopped arguing. When the room stood to applaud, I didn't cry, but I smiled the kind of smile that reaches your spine and says I made it, and I didn't need permission. 3 months later, Amanda invited me to lunch not as Ryan's sister, but as Olivia Carter, founder of Elderbrite, a woman who had rebuilt from ashes and dared to call it beautiful. We met at a sunlit cafe in Seattle's Capitol Hill. She was already seated, smiling, a notebook half open beside her coffee. "I've been thinking," she said, "there's a foundation I volunteer with. They fund social impact startups, especially those led by women." She slid the notebook toward me. Inside were notes, numbers, and potential connections. "If you're ready to scale, I think we can help." I didn't blink. "You don't owe me anything," she added. She shook her head. "This isn't about debt, it's about belief. You gave something to my grandmother I never could." For once, I let someone believe in me without hesitation. That summer, Elderbrite launched its first nationwide campaign, Digital Dignity. Workshops in public libraries, training hubs, and community centers, free programs for veterans and underserved seniors. We reached 250,000 users. I received an email from a 92-year-old woman in Montana. "Your platform helped me apply for a passport online. I'm flying to see my great-granddaughter next month. I've never flown before. Thank you for giving me that first step." I held on to that message not as validation, but as a reminder every quiet effort matters. At Ryan and Amanda's wedding, I wore a navy blue jumpsuit, simple, elegant, and unassuming. No one blinked. My mother introduced me to her friends as her daughter Olivia, the founder of a national nonprofit. The label wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Later that evening, she pulled me aside, a glass of white wine in hand, her voice soft with emotion. "You always walked your own path," she said. "I used to think that meant you were lost. Now I see you were just ahead of us." We didn't hug, but we stood beside each other longer than ever before. That felt like enough. That night, under a canopy of fairy lights, watching people dance, Ryan approached me, hands in his pockets, a bit nervous. "Amanda tells me you're speaking at Google next month. Is that true? Are you going to brag about being my sister?" I laughed. "Are you going to brag about being mine?" He grinned. And just like that, the grip of the past loosened. 2 weeks later, I sent Ryan and Amanda a small package. Inside was a handwritten note and a USB drive. The drive contained a customized version of Elderbrite, personalized for the assisted living facility where Amanda's grandmother had spent her final years. Lifetime access, no fees, full tech support. No press release, no credit, just a simple note. "Some connections outlive misunderstandings. Thank you for helping mine find her voice." Amanda called the next morning. She didn't speak at first, just breathed through tears and whispered, "You didn't have to." I smiled. "I know, that's why I did." Back at home, I printed a quote and taped it to my fridge. "They'll tell everyone you failed until one day they ask how you did it." No signature, no bitterness, just truth. Beneath it, my reflection in the fridge door smiled back, steady and sure. This time, the light wasn't coming from anyone else. It was mine all along. Where are you watching from today? I'd love to know which part of the world you're in and whether this story touched something inside you. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. You never know who needs to hear your words. If this story spoke to you, if you believe in quiet victories and growth and stories that matter, please subscribe to the channel. There's so much more ahead, and I'd be honored to share it with you. Thank you truly for being here. Until next time, stay grounded, stay kind, and remember your story is still unfolding.